Today we have Heather Serve. Here I go.
Severson.
Thank you,
Yeah, sorry.
Severson. That's one of those that I want to say Stevenson, and I know
Right?
it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
From the health department, as you guys know, these are recorded, and next month we will upload them so that you guys can use them later. We also send out the resources if Heather has anything that she wants us to send out in our weekly email. It is our last week. I'm kind of sad about that, but excited too that life will get back. Everybody will get back to school and things. So I hope you enjoy our last week and can make it and bring anybody that maybe has been in and out for the last that on this last week. And keep in mind that um, since it's recorded, as we've said before, there's nothing personal identifying, no names, no sites where you work, no proselyting. I think that's most of them. I think I hit them. So that we are in compliance with the federal guidelines for the program. And anyway, I will turn it over to you, Heather. I know you have a great presentation. We're super excited, and be sure and mute. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. You guys know how to react. Raise your hands. I'll keep an eye on that for you. And here we go. Thank you so much, Heather.
Oh, this is a treat for me. I'm such a fan of the work that you all do. I know that in my work here at the health department, one of the things that is we know is a very, very important way to protect the young people and to make up for adverse childhood experiences is to have at least one trusted adult in a child's life. And so if we are one of many trusted adults in a child's life, imagine the exponential benefit we're doing. So each one of you with the work you do is really creating the future for a young person. So thank you. Thank you for your work. So my name is Heather Severson. Let me go with my little, where's my little arrow here? And I am, see, maybe it's going to be, pardon me while I learn the tech here. I'm in a different computer area, so it's different than I'm expecting. There it is. Okay, this is me. So I'm the training and education coordinator for mental health for the Community Mental Health and Addiction Division at the Pima County Health Department. And it took me about 6 months to be able to say that smoothly because that's a lot of words. And my email is there, and I'm going to provide that at the end of our presentation as well, because what I'm hoping is that this is a conversation starter. And I will indeed be providing some resources for you to share with your team, including a little workbook about this and some links to the original creation, the people who created this, so you can revisit it and you can share it with your people. And just, again, my contact information so that if you have needs, anything about mental health in your community, you got a guy at the health department. So I welcome conversation with all of you. Okay, so let's start with this. And there is a method to my madness, and I will explain some of it to you a little bit later. But the main thing I want to do right now is I want to connect to purpose. So why are you in this role? Why do you do this work? And I invite you to put this in the chat, and you can have one or many reasons, and it can just be like sort of a rainbow of reason. And so I'm going to give us a couple minutes so we can all do that, and I'm going to put a little timer on so I don't go too far. Um, This is one of my favorite parts of this training because I get to read, what are in people's hearts, and so, it just makes me feel so happy. If we were in person right now, when we'd put these all on Post-it notes and then we'd put them up on the wall so we could go peruse them on the way out of the room, and then I would take them, and I have this big bucket that I keep them in at my office. And so right now there are hundreds of Post-it notes in there about why people do what they do or what brings them joy in their life if they're not working. Sometimes people on my team get kind of discouraged doing this hard work in public health. And I say, here, just grab one of these these purposes, and we read them. And then it just gives us such hope to think we are surrounded in our community by people who are motivated by their hearts to do this work to help each other. And so what I might do is print this out and put that in the bucket, just so we can have that element of hope. And it just, reading this, if you all are reading this as well, perhaps you're inspired by your colleagues. This is just beautiful that there are people out here in the world who care. It just moves me so much. I think it's the foundation of the work we can do. I often see words like service, joy, making a difference, to build the future, helping, these are some of the things we're seeing in the chart here. And even just the joy of working with children, right? That's it get going and hanging out with them is just going to bring a smile to your face, right? Oh, this is lovely. Let me give us a few more seconds to kind of add some more. And if you have more as I continue, please feel free to keep adding. Or if you get inspired as you read the other folks' chats. Oh, I love this. I believe there's so much more good in the world than the loud voices would tell us. Oh, me too. Me too. I really believe that. And that's why I do this work. So my purpose is, I put it in the chat as well, but I love people and I want them to be able to live their best lives. And there's a lot of things in the world, including adverse childhood experiences, that really prevent people from thriving. And we know that if we can prevent those adverse childhood experiences from the beginning, that is the best thing. But we also know that resilience is a skill we can bring to healing from adverse childhood experiences for ourselves if we could not go back in time and change things for ourselves, or if people we work with have had adverse experiences, we can heal. There's hope for healing and wellness. And that is if you don't remember anything from this presentation is except for the word hope, then my job will be done here. So thank you for participating with the connection to purpose. That I said that it is very moving to me, and we'll come back to that if we have time a little bit later. Okay, so now the next step for this presentation is it's very important for me to foster a sense of psychological safety and relevance. And so the opening remarks from Vicki were that this is going to be recorded and you want to make sure that no personally identifying information is in it. Vicki, do you know if the chat gets recorded or sent with the recording? I've seen Zooms where I did not have access to the chat. And if you don't know, that's okay. I'm just kind of curious.
We are moving to a different platform, so I'm not sure. So erring on the side of caution, let's say that. Yes.
Yes, okay.
People can download and save chats, so you would want not to put anything that might be sensitive in a chat, because participants usually can download or save a chat.
Yeah, I like the idea, Vicki and Beth, is just let's be conservative. Now, this is a very participatory presentation. So in person, what we'd be able to do is we'd be able to get a little bit more vulnerable than I'm going to invite you to do in this presentation, part just because if it's recorded, we just don't need it to be for posterity. So there may be times when I invite you to do private reflection and not necessarily share. Another thing about this is that I want it to be comfortable. So voluntary vulnerability and challenge by choice are two key presentation foundational ideas that I bring to any training about mental health, because I invite people to participate at the level of their comfort. So therefore, to that end, if anything in this presentation is activating for you, or it makes you uncomfortable, or it's just not the day for this, please, please just take good care of yourself. You can withdraw from it and come back later. We'll have other opportunities for this training, but self-care is the most important thing. So I want you to be physically and emotionally and intellectually and in all ways safe and comfortable for this. So that includes your level of engagement, what you want to put out for others to see in the chat, and also just what you might be hearing. So just let's make sure we take really good care of ourselves. Now, I'm not going to get into too many gory details or anything, but sometimes people bring up personal challenges that may be alarming to others. We're going to not do quite as much of that, I think, as we would if we were in person, just because we want to honor the fact that you have some regulations about what you're going to share. So I may catch myself going, oh, wait, let's back off a little bit from that. So just knowing that context is really important. So to that end, what can we do to make this safe and comfortable for you? And this is a place where you can put some of those things in the chat. And if you're like, oh, I think you covered it all, feel free to go down to the next question is, well, what would you like to take away from our time together? And if you would like to get off mute and just speak instead of typing it in the chat at this point, this is a fine time to do that. And just speak up. If we interrupt each other, we'll just give each other grace and we'll take turns. And then another question, what would make this the best use of your time today?
Well, I actually, I'm a therapist, so I've worked a lot with ACEs and done child therapy, but in my role as a foster grandparent and having limited but daily or every couple of times a week contact with a child, how am I going to be able to impact them around ACEs with limited contact as not as a regular everyday part of their life? So that would be kind of a curiosity for me, a question.
Okay, I'm writing these things down so I can see if we can check in later to see if we did. And as we go through this, if you have questions or you find other things to participate with this, feel free to put it in the chat or even interrupt me. Like this is really a conversation. So there is going to be, the first part of this, I'm going to talk a lot, but I am interruptible. So feel free to say, oh, Heather, I have a question. Okay, so really, if we were in a room together, it'd be a little easier for that because you could raise your hand, I could come over and we could talk. But we're gonna make the best of the situation. Having it virtually is a great option for us, and we'll just work with the context and try to do the best we can for that. So let me tell you a little bit more about some of the things that I bring to this and some of the other requests that people have made in order to make it safe and comfortable. So what I do when I do any of the trainings, but particularly this one, is I consider some core values and conditions. And so confidentiality is the foundation of this. Again, like in this context, we're not going to share as much details as we might in person, because if we were in person, we could shut the door, it would not be recorded, and then we would honor the confidentiality with the Vegas rule. What stays in the room, what comes to the room stays in the room, so that if we could learn lessons or insights from somebody's story, we're welcome to share those, just not identifying the person or the circumstance that they may talk about in their examples. Curiosity is another foundational value. So I invite you to bring curiosity. Now, there's part of this is that I may not be teaching you anything that you don't already know. So this is, common sense is less and less common these days, but this may just resonate with things you already know in your hearts and your brains and your experience and your daily life. So it's just really, instead of teaching you something new, I want to hearken back to wisdom that you may have in your culture, in your individual, in your family, in your profession, and just remind you about that, and then just evoke that so that you can take it forward, serving yourself and serving your people that you're helping out. Another one is dignity, empathy, equity, non-judgment, respect, transparency, and trust. Those are some of the core values that underlie this, hopefully my bringing this to you, and also the creation of this content by the creators. Some facilitation strategies that I'm trying to bring to this are boundaries, right? So we've established that by acknowledging that this will be recorded, and we're going to make sure to be taking care and following those rules. Even if I might invite you to do something that would be a little more personal, we're going to back off from that today. So we're going to respect those boundaries. Challenge by choice, any level of engagement is invited. Simply sitting and listening and not saying a word, absolutely welcome. Chatting and telling stories and everything, absolutely welcome. We want to work on co-regulation. So if anybody is sort of upset or a little activated by some of this, we work together to make that person safe. And sometimes just sitting in silence and breathing together is one way we can do that. And virtually we can do that as well. So if you are upset, you can reach out through privately to the host or to me or to one of your people that you know, or you can step away if you need to. If you need to take a bio break, if you just need to walk away for a little bit, regulating your own emotions is really important, and we welcome that. So if you come and go, nobody's going to take it. Nobody's going to worry about that. We just want to make sure you're okay. Empowerment, flexibility, pacing, pausing, and then really I'm trying to bring a trauma-informed, trauma-responsive approach to this. So is sort of anything that makes us feel better and do better is really welcome, including just periods of silence for this. The relational environment that we consider for this is allyship and belonging and collaboration, inclusivity and connection, and really listening, and particularly presence. And sometimes it's hard when I do these trainings virtually, especially for busy professionals. They like to just be like, oh, I gotta, maybe I'll check the email right now. And what I say to that is, what would make this the best use of your time today? If checking that email takes you away from the thing for a minute and then you come back and you're more rested, fine. I invite presence, but sometimes people just have to take care of that. And so again, if you're a little distracted, but you can just take care of that and then come back, no harm, no foul. This is not a classroom where I'm going to be like, be good, right? Okay. And then finally, practical tools. We're going to try to create a brave space by taking breaks as we need them. We'll try to take a little break midway, but if you need to take a break at any point, your comfort is really important for that. We'll bring mindfulness and physical comfort, really important. Stand up, stretch if you need to. And then finally, I'm going to be sharing a lot of resources as a follow-up, including some YouTube videos on the website of the people who created this so that you can revisit this and share it. It's for free, it's wonderful, it's valuable, and then you'll be able to follow up in many ways for that. Okay, so that is a good start for that. And I'm looking about, let me check in about some of the things. I'm unsure about how much to push a child to get them involved without upsetting them. Okay, that's good to know. That's something we can consider together. I would like to be able to always have a good attitude for my clients and support them. I'm a senior companion. And I believe that particularly that last one, Pam, that this training and the self-care reminders and permission that I'm going to give you, if you need the permission to take care of yourself, will help you best take care of others. And we'll talk about more of that in a little bit at length. Okay, so I want to invite you to check out this resource. Now, this is something that I'm going to send you a copy of this because this is something we can use with children. We can use this with people who have low literacy skills or have not learned to read yet. We can use this with people who speak multiple languages. And this is sort of a vocabulary that we can use in order to check in with each other. So typically, if I'm asking somebody, I'm in the hallway and I'm seeing a colleague and I say, "How are you?" and she may say, "Oh, I'm fine." This is typically that's our cultural and our language and our culture. That's sort of the polite. That's what you do, right? But what if she's not fine? But I really do care. I don't have time to have a really in-depth conversation, but I really do care, where she's at. She may say, "I had a hard weekend. I'm kind of at a 5. My subjective unit's distress scale. I'm kind of at a 5. I'm moderately upset and I'm uncomfortable. I'm at work still. I'm having some unpleasant feelings. They're still manageable, but I know that she's struggling a little bit. So maybe there's something I can do as a colleague or a supervisor to take the load off her on that day, just a little bit. We don't have to go into the details. We may do that later at lunch or after work or something. We may be able to talk if we have that kind of relationship. But this may give me just a very quick but real, honest, sincere check-in with my colleagues so that we can provide support for each other. And then, if somebody's, going to 8, freaking out, the beginning of alienation, maybe that's time where we stop everything and we just say, oh, is it time for you to take a mental health day? Or let's go get a cup of tea and we'll talk about it right now, right? And with kids, they really respond to this well. It's a little bit like the pain scale, but if you teach them the numbers or the faces, you can check in with them as well. And then this is a tool as adults with kids, if we can help them learn to identify their feelings, and then help them regulate their emotions if they're having some difficult ones. So this is a cool tool. I'll be sharing this with you. Now you're going to hear a little bit about this in a minute from Dr. Marks. There's not going to be very many videos, but I do want you to hear the voice of one of my mentors and one of the creators of this content. So getting through and this will also give us a chance for him to leave this. Now let's see if this shares. Right, we may have to mess with the training. I'm going to pause it right after I start it to make sure you can hear it, and then if it's all good, we'll carry on. And I got to find the screen.
So before we go, there's a couple of things that.
Okay, I got a thumbs up. That's excellent. So this is Dr. Michael Marks. Like I said, he's one of my favorite people. He's one of a team of people who have created this course, and we'll learn more about him in a minute. But now here's Dr. Marks.
I want to go over with you about how to reduce stress and relaxing. Before we dive into those, I'd like to explain what a subjective unit of distress is. It's called a SUDS level. Okay? It goes on a scale of 0 to 10. 10 being you're totally stressed out. You're pulling your hair out. 0 being like you're the second coming of. Okay? So the reason it's subjective is my 3 may be your 5, or your 5 may be someone else's 10. Okay? So it's subjective. So what I'd like you to do right now, just kind of tune in and determine what your SUDS level is right now. Okay? Cool. Take a couple seconds and do that. Now I'm going to show you the skill of diaphragmatic breathing. There's yoga, there's meditation, there's Tai Chi. There are all kinds of those relaxation techniques. In fact, there are apps. One of the most popular today is called calm.com. These are tools to help you relax yourself. So get your SUDS level, determine what it is, write it down, and now we're going to do diaphragmatic breathing. What is that? If you've ever been in a choir, you've heard people say, breathe from your diaphragm. Good way to think about this is look at a baby when they're sleeping and how they breathe. What I want you to do is put one hand on your chest and one on your stomach. And what we want is for this hand on your chest to remain still. When we breathe correctly from our diaphragm, our stomach, as we breathe in, feels like a balloon, and as we exhale, the air goes out. Now, this is contrary to the way especially men think, because usually we're trying to do our six-pack thing, so we end up breathing like this. We don't want that. What we want is breathe from down here, breathing in and breathing in. Now, we're going to do this for 2 minutes, okay? So here we go. Just breathe in, breathe out, do it naturally, no big breaths, just breathe naturally. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Each time that you exhale, say the word calm or relax to yourself. And relax. Breathing in and breathing out. Just being aware of the rhythm of your own breath. In and breathing in. And each time that you exhale, just saying the word relax or calm to yourself. You can close your eyes, keep them open, doesn't really matter. Just breathe in and breathe out. Being aware of the rhythm of your own breath as you become more and more relaxed. Breathing in and breathing out. in, breathing out. As you become more and more relaxed. And relax. Breathing in and breathing out. Just being aware of the rhythm of your own breath. Breathing in and breathing out. And each time that you exhale, just saying the word relax or calm to yourself. Just breathe in and breathe out. Okay, that's 10 minutes. What's your sense level now? Well, go down, stay the same. Sometimes for people, especially men, who are taught to not pay attention to their bodies, they may find that their level goes up because suddenly they're aware of these sensations. Don't be surprised by that. Practicing. Another good time to use this skill is when you go to bed at night. And since we know that in high-risk professions, sleep can be a real problem, like John mentioned. What I'd like you to think about, and most of us do this, when we go to bed at night, most of us, what we do is we start thinking about what we should have done, we could have done, what things didn't go right in the day, and obviously that isn't going to help us get no sleep. So you can use this exercise and then also practice this cognitive skill. Think about 5 things that you're grateful for from the day. People you met, your spouse.
Oh dear. Sorry, I don't know how that happened. Let me carry on.
So before we go, there's a couple of things that I want to go over with you about how to reduce stress and relaxing. Before we dive into those, I'd like to explain what a subjective unit.
We ended up going back a little bit.
All this does your
Oh, so sorry. This is an excellent place for you to be.
Can be.
Give me a moment.
Wrinkling your hair.
Oh, so sorry. Technology is lovely when it works, isn't it? Like this is me having to practice my resilience skills with this. Let me go in. Okay. Any questions at this point? Well, what I was doing was trying to move it around so I could see more of your more of your lovely faces in this, and I should have waited till we had a little bit of a break. Any questions about what Dr. Marks had to say? Okay, let's go to this. Okay, so let's talk about stress and trauma very briefly. So first of all, let me go back a little bit. This class, this Resiliency 5 Skills class, was originally created for returning veterans who were college students. And they were finding that their trauma that they had experienced when they were in service and deployed was really interfering with their ability to learn when they came back to use their GI School benefits. And so Dr. Marks and some teams of academics and psychiatrists and psychologists decided to see get to the bottom of this. And they had these classes with these veterans to try to, just reduce their stress in order to create access to their learning skills. And that was very effective. And then they expanded it to resiliency training for law enforcement officers and medics and firefighters and first responders in the communities. And then they realized that teachers are first responders, librarians are first responders, community health workers are first responders. There are many people. And I would say that all of you are first responders. So why might you and teachers and librarians be considered first responders? And feel free to get off mute if you like, or put it in the chat. Why do you think that we've expanded the definition to this to include us as well?
Probably because we have so much interest. The children are so influenced by us.
Yeah, that is right. And also, if a child is in distress, especially a little bit older children, research shows that they are more likely to go a little bit outside their families to communicate distressing messages or to ask for help. So teachers and all of you in your roles can be a first responder, because you may be the first person that a young person comes to if they're expressing distress. So that means you're the first person on the scene, so to speak, and then you are the person who's going to get them to the treatment or interventions that they need. So I really love that that we are all considered first responders now. I was formerly a librarian before this position, and really I saw that this is really true. So I love that this training is being expanded in order to help us help our community members, especially the children. So that is where this course came from. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go. So back to stress and trauma. So acute stress is something that is sudden and short term. It's like an emergency situation, and then we get some help and it passes. Chronic or cumulative stress is an overflowing bucket when acute stress happens over and over and over again, or relief just isn't there for the emergency, or just another emergency comes in. And if somebody is a firefighter, for example, or an EMT or a medic or a police officer, you can see that those people are often spending a great deal of time with community members who are having their worst day ever. So that's what the chronic stress and cumulative stress can come for those folks, and for us as first responders as well. If we're dealing with several children or one child who's having just a really hard time, this can become chronic and cumulative for us. A trauma exposure might include a disaster. So what we've learned is that, and this is sort of common sense, it's unrealistic to expect that we can routinely expect ourselves to the worst things that are happening for somebody, whether it's criminal or inadvertent or just disaster or accident, and remain unchanged. So the creators of this class really wanted us to be able to share these resilience skills with people, and so that we can heal when we encounter this kind of thing. Okay, so my favorite thing in the world, beyond hope, is resilience. So resilience for this class is the ability to bounce back and successfully cope despite a substantial of adversity. So the metaphor I love is the spring. Under pressure, it compresses. You know, in an emergency situation, some of us are really good in emergencies, and our spring is just totally packed down, right? And then the emergency is resolved, and we go and we have a period of rest so that the pressure can come off the spring and it can bounce back. So when the pressure stops, it bounces back and it gives us that flexible spring. If the pressure never stops, it is constantly compressed, and then it may lose its flexibility. If you think about a slinky that's played with too much or twisted, and it just doesn't slinky itself anymore, right? So we want to make sure we have those breaks so that we can stay resilient and stay flexible in our work. And this is something we can model in terms of emotional regulation with the children as well. So somebody said we weren't able to see a visual of him and the outline of the slide. So let me see if I can go back to that. Thank you for that feedback in there. I think clicking all the buttons, we just didn't. Resume slideshow. Okay, now do you see no outline of my screen anymore? Is that the case? You see it look better now?
I see the left side column with all of the slides, the thumbnail, but it doesn't matter. I can still read the other. I just want to anyone on a phone.
That's irritating though, isn't it? Let me go back to this.
So if you put it in slideshow view, then usually it just shows the screen that or the slide you're on instead of the
I'm pushing the buttons and it's so weird that it's doing that. Oh.
So right down at the very bottom by the size, bottom right corner, I believe that so you can zoom in or out, but that little one I believe is also
no, that's not
also that
won't
the
work.
Display settings.
Yeah, see on my it's just odd to me because I've got it saying the right thing here. Well, I may mess with this. I don't want to get this to totally get us.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. It's your tech, right? But the content's what matters. So when you guys are thinking and talking, I may mess with it and be around. But thank you for that feedback.
We
Yes.
also had Anita that had her hand raised.
Oh,
And
yeah,
she had a
yeah.
comment in here. So back when you were a slide or so ago. So she said, sometimes a child becomes comfortable or safe to share while we work with the child.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that is really true. And so you, again, you may be the first person who hears about this. And so if you have your resources to refer them to help and you can help them through that, then you really are a first responder. You're doing some sort of mental health first aid in some ways for them. Okay, so let's go back to this again. I'm sorry, the virtual is so much fun, but sometimes it doesn't work quite as graceful as I'd like it to. So it's a dance. Okay, so now without further ado, the 5 skills. So these were when Dr. Marks and his team made this, they originally had 12 skills and they refined them down to 5, which I love because I think about it like learning a song. And if there's 12 verses, it's a little hard to learn the lyrics to the song. So if there's 5 skills, but they still contain all the important music of those original 12, then it's easier to remember the song and so we can apply it in our world. So belief is the foundation that we start with, and belief controls your actions and attitude. Strength is anything to do with our physical bodies, and that includes nutrition, exercise, and sleep. And what I also love about this is that relaxation turns out to be a foundational skill for us. When I was growing up, my grandmother, a nurse, and my mother, who cared deeply about me and my well-being, I don't think they explicitly talked about relaxation as an important thing. We all know about the nutrition, exercise, and sleep. That's age-old wisdom. But now we know that relaxation and play is really, really essential as well. It has equal billing, I guess, with those other things. So that's kind of interesting to me, having come up with a little bit of a different attitude about that. So I love that part. And that helps me give myself permission to relax because I'm not really good at that. I'd rather just be driven, but I don't do well if I don't relax, interestingly enough. So persistence is facing a challenge with the belief that you'll succeed. Trust is the basis of all relationships and is founded on empathy. And trust, this little bucket of resilience, is all about our social skills, our social relationships, our connections with other humans. And finally, adaptability is the flexibility to meet a challenge. And these are evidence-based skills. And when we look at the metaphors that they use with this, sometimes you have to think about the origins of this. Like mental armor is the metaphor they use for soldiers and cops. But you may change your metaphor to suit however it resonates with you. But in any case, whatever metaphor you use, by practicing these skills and protective factors, you're mitigating risk for burnout and compassion fatigue and stress and mental health distress. And bringing these skills to the children so that they can learn these as they're growing up, they can cope with difficulty and practice their resiliency skills early and often. So it's a lovely thing because, again, this is stuff we know, but we also often need to be reminded. And with the children, they may not know this yet. So these are things you can teach them. Okay, so why resilience? Are you able to see? I think it's going to take a moment before they come up, but are you able to see the faces? There's a panel of faces there. Can you see that? No, okay, it just shows I don't know why, this is so odd, what an odd situation. Well, let's move to the next one. I just wanted to show you pictures, but not a video of these guys. And if you wanted to follow up with this, again, I'm going to send you the video link so you can check it out. And you'll be able to see these people. These are wonderful people who have co-created this class. First, let me tell you what's going to happen next. So I'm going to dive deep into each of one of the 5 skills, and we're going to talk about some examples and some sub-skills that are involved. And for each one, I'm going to invite you to write down a past challenge that you have already overcome. And what I found is it's really interesting because adults are not as good as kids about this. I think because our focus is on what the problems are now and what we need to fix now. And we forget to give ourselves credit for the work that we have done in the past and the challenges that we have overcome. So as we're talking, you might want to just jot down a few of the things that you've overcome in your life. Sometimes I use the example, I survived junior high. That may age me a little bit. Now it's called middle school. And yeah, that was a long time ago, but that was a challenge for me. And I overcame it and I don't think about it anymore. I don't cry about junior high anymore. Many years later, I got through it. I'm still proud of that. There may be some things like, oh, I remembered to floss, right? It could be, it doesn't even have to be a big thing, but just think about some challenge that you overcame. And the reason why I want to do this is because we're taking advantage of the neural pathways in our brain. So if you think about something that you already overcame, it's not in your life anymore because it's in the past and it's done and dusted. You kind of open up the neural pathways to your brain to say, oh, I can succeed at overcoming difficulty. Yeah. That does is when you discuss or reflect upon a current challenge, it's opened the door to a little bit more creativity in order to deal with that current challenge. You may be really swirling around in your head about it, and it's really challenging, and you're perseverating, you're trying to figure it out, and you can't figure it out. So if you think about a past challenge, it just opens up some creativity for you. And so try this in your life. I'm teaching you some little skills as you go, or reminding you about some skills that you can practice in your life. And this is something you can do with the kids too. If they're struggling with a challenge, you can say, okay, tell me about something when you were the boss of that challenge, when you overcame it, when you passed your algebra test, or you learned to read, or you learned to tie your shoes, whatever age appropriate thing that you can invite them to think about. And you can tell them that. Say, now, remember how you felt when you had that challenge overcome? Okay, now let's use that information, the feeling of triumph you have in your brain, in your body right now. Now let's talk about the current challenge. And you may see some interesting results from that. So this is kind of an experiment. Your results may vary. But again, it's opening up our brain. This is using our brain in order to associate with past challenges, gives us creativity to go to the next one. And then as we're discussing it today, I'm going to be taking notes, and I also invite you to do this, is if you hear somebody saying a phrase or a skill or something just that is really pithy and you're like, oh, that's so good, right? You don't even necessarily have to tie it to the details of what they're telling you, but some people have real poetry when they're talking about the skills here. And so take note of those. And when we're in person, what I do is I make a little poster of those, and it's sort of a little poem about our time together, about what we reminded ourselves about, what we know, what the wisdom is in the room. And so in the chat, that may be a way to do it. And then again, we'll take notes and we'll share those in a minute. So kind of keep that in mind as we go, and I'll remind you about how we're going to do this as we go. I'll prompt you. Does that make sense so far? Any questions about that? Okay, let me get back to my... I'm wondering if I share a different screen, but in any case, we'll be stuck with this for a minute, I think. Okay, so skill one, belief. So beliefs control your actions and attitude. And so changing your belief changes your attitude. You may not be in control of the external circumstances of your life, but you're changing your belief and your attitude. You may have some control over that. In fact, I think we may have more control than we believe we do often. This gives you control, inner strength, and courage. Has anybody heard about growth mindset, the term growth mindset in your travels? And if anybody wants to speak up or put in the chat what your definition might be of that. And if you're like, I don't know, I can tell you. I'll give you a moment to share if you know. Okay, so growth mindset is, I think it was Dweck is her last name. I can't remember. I'm spacing on her first name. She's a scholar who did a bunch of research to show that that when students took on a belief that they didn't have the skill yet, or that they could get the skill, or if they quote unquote failed, they didn't blame other circumstances. They didn't also blame themselves in terms of foundational identity. They said, well, okay, I made a mistake, but I learned from it, and I'm going to go on and I can learn this skill. So for me, I've transformed my attitude about math. I hated math. That's part of why I hated junior high so much. But as an adult, I'm actually going to take an algebra class, because now I'm not afraid of math anymore, because I know I have the smarts. I can do it. I know that from experience. I know that it actually turns out algebra is kind of relevant. I didn't want to admit that for a long time, but yeah, my math teacher was right. So now I've overcome that, and I'm going to go and learn more and apply my math skills. And so I'm not afraid of math anymore. I'm going to take my time. I'll find a good teacher. I'm going to practice. I'm going to realize that making mistakes in it is how I learn, right? So that is just one example of applying growth mindset to a learning opportunity. So how do we apply the skill of belief? We approach a challenge with a realistic view. Can we change the situation? Can we change the challenge? If we can't change the external things in our lives that are causing us difficulty, we work on changing our attitude or belief about it. So this example is really good, I think, because it's very relevant. If we've been in the workforce at any point, we probably can relate, or we've been somewhere around this. So the example is you did not get a promotion and you believe that you're the best for the job and the promoted person was not as qualified as you. And let's say objectively that's true. You had more education, more experience, you've been on the job longer, but for some reason you didn't get the job. So what is the challenge here and what is the belief that you can bring to this? And again, this is some place where you can speak up or put it in the chat. And while you're doing that, I'm going to mess with the screen a little bit. So you carry on with your ideas about it, and then I'm going to see if I can make this be prettier for us.
Can you ask that question one more time, Heather?
Yeah,
That we were
yeah.
going to put in chat? Thanks.
Yes. So for the challenges, you didn't get a promotion. Somebody else did who wasn't as qualified as you. So what are the challenges that you're facing here? And what are the beliefs? Like what are you going to do about this? And what are your beliefs about this? And maybe there's a progression of beliefs. Maybe you're initially really mad. And that's, maybe you're grieving a little, and we want to honor that's okay to do for a little bit. Maybe, but let's think about what's the trouble that we'd be having with this right now, and what beliefs would you bring to the circumstance? So just doing a little check-in. Do you see the full slide now instead of just the outline on there? Is that better? Okay. Yes. Success. Okay. So some of the things that might come up with this, and some of the things that I've heard from other folks about this is that they say, oh, they don't see me and my talents. I'm just going to move on, right? And that may be something that you would want to do. And maybe that brings you to a place where you really are valued for your skills. Some people have said, well, what if I really love the company that I'm working with and the team that I have? And I really believe in the mission and vision of this organization that I work for. I'm going to be sad for a little bit, but I love my job and I'm going to be graceful to this new person. She has nothing to do with this, or he has nothing to do with this. I'm going to be a mentor and I'm going to welcome this person to the job and help them. And so there's a lot of different things that could happen as a result of that. You could end up deciding to move on. You could decide to stay and help the person. So some of the sub skills would be with this is you accept the situation realistically, neither minimizing or exaggerating or catastrophizing. You can't change it right now, but you can change your belief about it. So you want to stay away from self-defeating thoughts because our thoughts and beliefs really drive our behaviors and we can change them. So if we have self-defeating thoughts, they have negative consequences. They impact our relationships and our work and our ability to enjoy our life. So in this case, the adversity or activating event is that you didn't get the promotion that you really honestly deserved. Your beliefs about it may start with, oh, they don't see me, they don't understand me, they don't appreciate me. I'm really sad about that, so I'm going to move on. And so the consequences of that, or you may lead to a behavior where you go find another job where you're more appreciated. Another thing is you can just believe that you were mistreated and come to work in a cranky mood every day. You can imagine what the consequences are for you and your colleagues if you do that. Another thing you might do is go through the grief a little bit and then bring your best self to bear and be helpful. And then you find out, oh, I have something to learn from this new person and they have something to learn from me. And then maybe the people who are in charge may see how graceful you are with helping this new person, and maybe another opportunity that's even above that one, a higher position, You're just right for that because you've demonstrated that you can be a supportive person and have good teamwork despite the adversity. Maybe it was a matter of you need to learn how to do better interviewing, so maybe you can ask for feedback and then find out, oh, if I had done better with my interview, I probably would have done better. I would have gotten this job, right? So the adversity, the beliefs, and the consequences, and that's a little chorus for our song of resilience, is to think about what the challenge is, think about what kind of things we think about it, and then think about the consequences of that, negative or positive. And it might remind us or invite us to change to a different belief. Again, giving some time to get over hurt feelings. We can't just force ourselves to feel really great about something that's not great immediately, but we can work towards that. So I invite you at this point to write down a past challenge that you have had. You don't have to share it in the chat, but if you want to, you may. But I do think about a past challenge that you had, that you overcome. It's done and dusted. It's something to do with belief that you have overcome already.
Okay.
And if you would like to share, we welcome that. And just be mindful of the constraints of our sharing, according to your organizational rules about information like that. I think that my example about how I believed I wasn't good at math, that for a long time, that probably eliminated a lot of opportunities for me. I didn't go into science as a career, and now I think I probably could have done okay at that, right? So that's my example about that one, as far as like a current challenge that I have. But I think in some ways it's now a past challenge because I'm going to do better with math, right? So that's a little mixed in there. So after you've thought about your past belief and it's really solidly in there, think about a current challenge you have that involves belief. And I've decided we were going to go into breakout rooms, but I think we're going to stay together just because the tech is not as great as I would like to do, and I just want to complicate it. So this one, and this one is if anybody would like to share a current challenge that you would like to share, and maybe we could workshop it if you like, either in the chat or speaking out loud.
Okay, I had a similar challenge like you. I thought math didn't like me, and when I went to college, I was faced with a statistics class, and it scared me to death because I felt like I was terrible at math, and so I joined a study group and wound up getting an A+ for the class, and bringing that current. I took on a mortgage with my late husband, and he passed away. And then I felt like, oh gosh, I'm going to die with this mortgage.
Oh.
And so using the math skills, I took another little workshop on budgeting, and I'm mortgage free.
Oh my goodness, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, and see, that's growth mindset, right? You brought a growth mindset to the challenge of statistics, and boy, have I been there, sister. Oh boy, I got 2 master's degrees, so I had to take statistics twice. The second time, I didn't even worry. I'm like, I can do this. I'll just get a tutor. It's fine. I got this. So the first time, oh boy, that was hard. But yes, turns out I can do math, and now you've applied it to your real life, and you are free, right? So that was wonderful. That's a really lovely example.
Thank you.
Let's see. I'm looking at the chat now. So. This is a good one, and I've struggled with this one myself, Pam, about overcoming difficult feelings about other people and when they have it. And so what I've learned, the way I reframe that for myself, in terms of belief, an example that I bring is if somebody has a success, what I think about is the success in the world is not pie. They didn't eat all the pie. It's infinite. What if I bring happiness and joy for them for their success, that's the person I want to be. I mean, it takes time sometimes to get there. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it takes a minute to go and go, okay, I want to be a more graceful person. And it turns out that their success may or may not be taking something away from me. In the case of the promotion, it feels like that person took something away from you. But if they had nothing to do with the hiring process and they were just bringing their best self to it, they are successful. And ideally, if I can change my belief about that and have more grace, then maybe we can all be happy. If I can't, or it turns out that it just didn't work out, maybe it is better to go to a place where I'm appreciated and my success can come, right? The challenge is that I can't do things that I used to be able to do. Oh, that is a period of time when it's just so difficult, isn't it? When we have all the drive and motivation in the world to do these wonderful things, and we want to be of service, and we want to exercise, and we want to travel, we want to do all the things, and our bodies are changing in ways that don't let us. That is so hard, right? May I invite anybody else to bring some suggestions about how we might cope with that challenge? Either speaking out loud or putting it in the chat, because I think that is real. That's a real thing.
For me, I sometimes just have to give myself grace and take it day by day or moment by moment and realize that with time, we'll get through this. I'm not going to figure this out today or maybe even tomorrow or next week, but just being patient with myself that tomorrow I might see something better or different. And I think that's something that's came with age. If I could go back and tell my younger self something, it's just give myself grace. You don't have to figure it all out today. There is a time and a season, and we'll get through this.
I love that. I love that. And then somebody says, be kind to yourself. Oh, yes. If I could go back in time to my young self, that might be the biggest thing I might tell myself is give yourself grace. Be kind to yourself. You're learning. You're doing your best. When you make mistakes, the world does not end. The world does not, the whole world is not looking at you. You know, these are some of the messages I give myself. Do things that you can do. Don't think about what you can't do now. I love that, right? Maybe you can't hike the Grand Canyon rim to rim in a day or whatever. Maybe you can hike it in a week, or maybe you can go to the Salt River Canyon, or maybe you can go to a different canyon, or maybe you can find beauty on a trail that has a little less incline, right? You can still be doing the things you want to do, but maybe just change it and reframe them. Maybe you can't dance all night long, but you can go dance early. Maybe you don't want to go to the clubs to go dancing, but you go to places where they have humane dancing schedules. Like what I want to do now that I'm older, I love to dance and go to nightclubs and just dance. But I can't wait till 10 o'clock at night and go dancing. I want to have like a 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock dance party so that everybody can go dance and then go home and go to bed at a reasonable time. Wouldn't that be amazing? But in the meantime, well, they don't have that. I can do that in my house, right? So, we can find ways to do what we love and modify them. And I see that Beth has you have your hand up.
Well, so I became disabled during the pandemic. I have chronic illness, and so there's a lot I can't do. And one of the things I'm focusing on is my dad's 96, my stepmom's 91, and my best friend is 91. And they're all grieving all the things that they can no longer do. Even my 91-year-old friend can't do things she could 2 years ago. And so, yeah, Deborah, I just saw Deborah's acceptance. So one is at first accepting and then grieving the loss. Yes. And then instead of just sitting with the grieving the loss, it's like, okay, what can I do? And as like someone said, what can you do? And it's like, well, I may not be able to go scuba diving right now, which I took up in my 50s, but I could go to the therapy pool and paddle across, and I think part of it is acceptance. It's accepting the pain of the loss, but not giving up.
Yeah, I love that example.
What can I do? Because it's easy to give up, and I've done that.
It is.
It just doesn't make me any better.
Yeah, the consequences of giving up. So there's an adversity or a challenge, your body doesn't do what you want it to do. The belief about it could be giving up, and then you stay sedentary, and then your body increasingly doesn't do what you want it to do. Or you can say you can grieve. Again, we really want to honor the time that we need to grieve this. We can't just force ourselves into being Pollyanna right away. So going through a natural grief process and being patient with that, and then changing it and saying, okay, I can't do to that level. What's something that still is adjacent to that brings me joy? And I love your scuba diving example. I used to be a scuba instructor, and then I had a medical thing that happened. So I'm certainly never going to teach scuba diving again. And I may not be actually able to scuba dive but I will be able to snorkel. Right. And it turns out snorkeling's pretty darn cool. And then I'm not exhausted from carrying around that tank. And it's also safer, right? But even bringing my flippers to the YMCA, it's fun, you know, and I go, oh yeah,
I have little swim slippers. I just found them, and I'm
they're so much fun. You feel like you're speeding through the water. Aren't they amazing? Oh, I love them. I love them. I love it. I just think that's so fun, right? And so then the consequences, look at us. We're geeking out about how happy we are. We're smiling, and yet we both probably lost scuba diving, maybe forever. But look, we can smile about it. We're sad, but we could still do something fun, right? So I love that example about that. Oh, that's good. So, and again, I just want to remind you, if you hear any phrases about as we're discussing things, just make a note of it. We'll come back and refer to that. But this is good. So those are perfect examples about that. Let's go to the second skill, strength. So strength is all about the physical stuff, everything in our body. And that actually is a good segue because we're talking about our bodies not being able to do what we wanted to do necessarily before. So strength is about good physical self-care, nutrition, exercise, relaxation, a new attitude that I have to bring to it, and good sleep. And this is regular, good sleep hygiene, good nutritional choices. All of these things impact our physical, emotional, and mental health. We all know this. This is not new to you, right? How do we do this? We find and practice the plans to meet our goals for good nutrition, aerobic exercise, balance, strength as we go. We may need to reduce or change the activities we do in order to do those things, but we still need to keep those in our lives. We may have been wonderful yoga instructors back in our past, but now we do chair yoga, but we can still get a great deal of benefit out of that chair yoga, especially in community. Adequate sleep, practicing stress reduction strategies. All these things we can do to take care of our bodies are really important for our resilience. An example that they provide for this is I get anxious before and during public speaking. I need to find and practice a relaxation exercise. So what's the challenge? I'm nervous. And here's something I could say is maybe I'm really nervous about public speaking. It's really hard, but I really believe in my message. I really want other people to know what I know because I know this and it can help people, right? This hits close to me, right? I'm nervous about the technology not working, but I'm gonna do it anyway. We're gonna carry on. We're gonna adjust. We're gonna have grace, and we're gonna get the information out because it's really important. So, what are some practices and examples you could do if you are the one who's nervous about public speaking and you want to find a relaxation exercise? What do y'all suggest? Again, speak up or put it in the chat.
For me, this is just one that you have to do, even if it's just a little bit, because the fear can just be completely limiting and all of a sudden you don't. And then I have this thing that, and I know some people do, but my memory isn't great. And so I have a few takeaways and generally I have to write them down. Probably nobody's going to remember me in a month. I'm not, and so I don't need to worry so much because chances are what I say, hopefully they'll just get a little takeaway that they need and that's all. So I didn't need to worry too much.
I feel like you're my soul sister here. I've written down my key takeaways on one page and I've got little notes to add for like what to do better for this next one is I'm gonna maybe get a moderator to test my computer, or maybe I'll figure out, there's all these different things I can do to make next virtual one better. But I also truly believe that if you don't remember me or anything and you just remember the thing about hope and resilience, or you get one takeaway from this, it'll be worth it, right? And so I'm not quite as nervous about the tech things, even though I kind of cringe when they mess up and it's not perfect. I go, but really I do believe in the message, right? And there's all kinds of ways that we can improve our public speaking. There's Toastmasters, there's rehearsal, there's presenting to a really safe audience ahead of time. There's also, there's all these different things. And there's also just the belief that my message matters even if I mess up, that's more important than my personal dignity or whatever, right? So these are some things you can do. Rehearse what you want to get across. It will increase your confidence. And really, the more often you do this, the better you'll get at it, even when you face the little difficulties, especially with tech or whatever, or the microphone doesn't work. Or the other day I went to do a conference presentation at the fancy Marriott over on the west side of town. And I had done all these things, practiced it. I'd even sent in the presentation a couple weeks before, and I was ready. And when I got there, the Pima County computer I brought would not interface with the hotel, so I couldn't use my slides. So I started on time and I ended on time, and we just had a conversation. I did not feel great about that, but I had a message that I believed in, and I feel like the response from the people as they were going out and saying thank you to me, it was okay. It was not optimal. Am I going to beat myself up about it? That doesn't do any good. I did the best I could, right? I still cringe about it, but it's next, move on. Next time, maybe I'll bring my personal computer and my work computer. I'm always learning, always learning. I want to get a t-shirt that says, learning the hard way since 1970. And on the back of it, I want to say stumbling towards grace, because these things, they happen, they may be so out of my control. And yes, it does reflect on me, but I can't own it because it really wasn't my fault. And I did the best I can, right? Toastmasters helped me, somebody says in there. Wonderful, wonderful. So some of the skills, the sub skills, eat right, exercise right, sleep right, relax right. Good nutrition is foundational, right? And there's so much wisdom out there about good diets and things, and I don't even like the word diet, but nutritional plans. And all of us are individual. What works for us may not work for others. We need to find ways to eat delicious food that we love, that is good to our bodies. And maybe we need a team or an expert to help us with that. But that's something we do regularly. A little treat now and then, that's a good thing to do, but not too, don't rely. Like I'll have a donut maybe once a year, maybe twice a year, if I'm really good, maybe 3 times a year if it's a bad year. But I do love that donut when I have it. Exercise right. That's something I'm going to work on. I got to do better at it. I'm trying to reframe it to say, instead of exercise, I think about my little after work dance parties. That counts. That's fun, but that's exercise. So I'm just saying, move more, right? So that's my belief I'm bringing. Instead of I have to exercise, I try to say I get to move more. I get to hike. I get to move. I am so fortunate to be able to move my body. For a long time, I was not well and I had chronic pain, and I'm better now. And I remember those days when I couldn't. And I try to remind myself that movement is going to keep me from having that again. Sleeping right. That's my favorite thing. I love sleep. I'm a 9 p.m. lady, and I'm sorry I can't go dancing, but I can't do social things after that. It's 9 o'clock. Got to go to bed. I really protect that time because I really need that sleep. Relaxing right. I'm learning about that. I'm learning to take breaks. I have a little alarm on my little smartwatch, and it goes off at random times, like 11:11 or 2:34 or 5:56 or something. And I say, okay, this time I have to stand up and walk around, like just to get myself to relax. Meditation, yoga, whatever it takes to de-escalate my stress and the cycle of arousal and hypervigilance. And again, these are things we can model for kids. We know this. We've been around in the world. We know this. We already know this one. This is not new to us. The children, it may be new to them, and you can explain this to them in their way, and you can model it for them. So skills for strength. What is a past challenge that you've had to deal with strength? And in a way, we kind of, the one about our bodies not doing what we want, we kind of did this a little bit, but what are some other examples about the challenges that we're dealing with in the past or currently with strength? For me, the challenge often has been avoiding that donut. But now I try to tell myself, I've already had my donut for the year, or, you're not going to feel better in a minute, Heather, or maybe I'll just take a bite of it, or maybe I'll split it with somebody, right? So that's the challenge I can bring, is not eating so many donuts. They're my kryptonite. Oh, I love donuts. Anybody else having any challenges with strength, or ones that you have overcome that you could share with us in triumph?
Right. Well, I am pre-diabetic. I have a family history of diabetes, and so I'm like you, I had to give up the sweets, and my daughter said, "Well, I've eaten enough sweets to last a lot of people's lifetime, so it should be okay." But
Oh,
it's
I
a
love that.
challenge, and I try to eat healthy, and I actually last year I was no longer pre-diabetic, but this last blood work I'm back on the cusp of pre-diabetes. But my doctor was very encouraged because I just went up 1/10 of a point, and she said I can correct that with, she said physical,
Yes.
how did she say, weight bearing physical activities. You know, she didn't necessarily say exercise. So
Yeah.
she gave me some points. So I'm encouraged.
That is a good example. I'm gonna, pardon me, I'm sneeze. Whew.
Well, my name is Mel. Are you still talking, Anita?
Oh
No,
no, I think you're done, right, Anita? Yeah.
yes, I'm good,
Okay,
Melody. Go ahead.
I'm Melody, and I'm with grandparents, and I'm in Mojave County, and I just wanted to say about we're talking about strengths. I had so many things happen to me in the lot since May that I have been able to keep going. I had my husband buried in May, and the same time he was buried, I fractured 2 bones in my foot. And for 2 months, I've been with a cast. I finally got it off. I refuse to allow it to hurt me or take over me. I refuse to let anything ruin my strength. I am a very, what do you call it? Challenge. To me, that was a challenge to overcome it. And I'm walking. I'm not walking. I'm not running, but I'm still walking. And I refuse to let be defeated by anything or anyone. And that's the way I
Oh,
am.
Melody, yes,
I'm
I honor
sorry.
you. What a role model, and what a role model for the young people, right? That is,
Oh,
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 you hang in there, and I honor your grief and your determination and your going forward. That is beautiful. I love
that's the
that. I
word.
love that.
I was looking for the word determination. I couldn't come
Yeah.
up with it. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I don't give up.
Oh, thank you.
You have to be strong and beat it no matter what. You got to force yourself to be strong.
Yeah, sometimes we don't feel like it. Sometimes we are sad and it is hard, but we just have to make that choice. And that's another thing we can think about the consequences of sinking into grief and not moving. And research says that moving can really help us with
Yep.
grief and with mental challenges. And so that just getting moving, that is a beautiful thing. Oh, I applaud you for that. Oh, perfect example.
Thank you.
Yeah, determination and what an inspiration you are to your colleagues and to your family. This is I love my job because I get to hear your stories like this.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So the next skill, number 3, is persistence. So persistence is facing a challenge. And Melody, you're giving us an example of that right now with this thing you just shared with us, right? Facing a challenge with the belief that we will ultimately succeed. So in order to persist, we have a goal or a vision. We know why we're doing this. I bet Melody, you could tell us why. You have a purpose for having this determination. You have work to do. You got to contribute. You
Yes.
have to
Oh,
contribute
yes.
to the world,
Well,
right?
one purpose is to go and see my husband's funeral cemetery. I haven't been able to go there since he's been buried.
Oh, was he in service? Was he a service
Yep,
member?
he's in Boulder.
Oh,
He's in the National Boulder
oh,
Cemetery. I have yet to go there, and I'm determined to go there one way or the other.
oh. Well, I know you're good. I know I have absolute confidence in you, and I honor you, and I know that that's going to be a big moment of your life. It's going to be very complicated, but full of pride and love and memory, and there's just going
Oh,
to be a lot going. But you're going to feel very triumphant as well as you're able to do that. Oh, I love
yes,
that. I
thank
love
you.
that. Uh, Yeah, see, this is the lovely thing about this, that we are surrounded by people who have resilience and model these things for us. It's so beautiful. So creating a realistic goal and the steps needed to reach the goal. So let's use this example of being able to travel instead of this one, special lead assignment. There's going to be some steps that you're going to have to take. Melody, do you mind if we use this as an example?
No, I
Um,
don't mind because I was in a castle and I couldn't drive anywhere, and I had luckily a couple of friends that helped me out to take get my mail and shop for me. I was stuck with
okay.
no help.
Yeah. So what kind of steps does Melody likely need to take in order to meet her goal of traveling to Boulder, Colorado to honor her husband? And you could again speak up or you can put it in the chat.
Who, me or some other people?
Anybody. I'd love anybody to contribute to this. And including you.
Well, my attitude was I'm persistent because I want to go see my husband's headstone. I'm not going to sit and let this defeat me.
Yeah.
I refused to allow things to hurt me. I won't do it. God
Yeah.
protects me, and that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So you're starting with that belief. Like that's step one, right? You know you're gonna do it.
Yep.
Making a plan. Yeah.
So
Ask for help. Yeah.
My friends laugh at me because I have chronic fatigue and some other issues. And so I started asking for a wheelchair on airplane flights because I can walk, but I'm so exhausted that it wipes me out for the first couple of days there. And I have friends with serious health problems who are like, you asked for a wheelchair? I'm like, yeah, you should try it. It's really amazing having people get you from one place to another in time for your flights. And at first my ego was all caught up, but asking for help, looking for what are the available services, reminding myself that I didn't make myself have chronic illness. So it's not like I'm being lazy. So part of it's the kind of having a positive attitude. And I got to tell you, traveling is just so smooth these days.
Oh my gosh, that is a practical piece of advice that we can all keep in mind. I like you, the ego got into me when I was having my chronic issues and I traveled. It was hard, but my friend said, "Come on, get a wheelchair, do it." And my sister's a flight attendant, and what I know about that is if you get the wheelchair service, if you're like having a really long delay between, or you have a long ride between, they are more likely to hold the flight for you because they have those little radios. And so and then it's just, and you get some help and you don't have to carry, you don't have to schlep, right? And if you can just get over the ego thing, having that energy and saving it for when you get there, that is a beautiful thing. And those wheelchair people, they have stories. They're so nice generally.
I got to practice the only Arabic word I knew, inshallah, because most of the people in Dallas, the wheelchair folks are Arabic speaking. Yeah. It was, and I had one of them flagging down one of the carts because he wasn't going to be able to run me to my late connection on time, and flag down a cart to get me on a riding cart. I mean, it was just, and there was sweetness to it. So it wasn't
and they love being of service. That's their way to do it. So it's okay to ask for help. That is lovely. Anybody else have any ideas about what Melody could do to steps to take to be successful in this goal?
She might find someone to travel with her and share the ride. That might be a way to be able to get it done.
Yes. Somebody says physical therapy. I'm going to not go on and on about it, but I will testify. Physical therapy saved my life. I love physical therapy. That will help. And if you tell your physical therapist what your goals are, they can really help you prepare ahead of time. Having a travel companion can be so helpful in all the ways. The emotional, physical, intellectual support for that, if you're able to do that, is really good. And just to help and be there with you in that moment. So ideally, somebody who's also really invested in that moment of honoring your husband. Perhaps that's somebody that could help. And even if it's just somebody meeting you there, but having somebody on the airplane with you, that's a comfort as well. Any other examples? This is so good.
The one thing with me, this is Melody, is that I don't have no family. So I had nobody to help me except Toralyn. She and her daughter helped me a couple times. And I was very grateful. I met a couple people that come and helped me and took me shopping. I have one good friend. And luckily they bring me food sometimes so I can eat, because anyway, I'm able to walk a little bit, so I'm doing good. I'm just happy I'm able to keep walking. But I feel sad for those who don't have no one to turn to. They're alone.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that very soon, actually. Yeah, but first let's talk about the goal setting. Now, so goal setting is really like the person who said make a plan. Val, I think was Val's iPad said this, but or maybe that's Val too. Persistence, setting goals is really important. So even just step by step. So you have your goal and you break it up into all the things that you need to do it ahead of time. It might be getting some physical therapy for a few weeks ahead of time. It might be just making sure that we are going to not have an ego invested in getting the help and accept it and enjoy it. And then it might be calling somebody in Boulder, one of the people in the service in the same branch as your husband, who may be able to be an escort for you and take you there. I don't know what services exist with that, but I'm imagining there's some service corps who can help you if you don't have anybody to go with you, who can take you around and help you there. That may be a service that's available, somebody who would be, or volunteers, or some young people who really are, maybe the ROTC team. I don't know, but there may be some people out there, even if you haven't met them yet, who are going to be friends for you in this service. Intentional and purposeful goals help us make progress and then adjust and then carry on with our persistence. But asking for help is sometimes the hardest for us, especially if we've long been the helpers. And what I like to do with people who are really reluctant to take help, including myself, is I remind myself of how much satisfaction it gives me to help somebody. To be of service is a joy in my life. And if I can give that same joy to somebody else who helps me and get my ego out of the way, what a beautiful experience for both of us. All the parties involved really benefit. And then I get to really, really enjoy that. And then that person gets to be of service as well. And if we're helpers, we know the gratification we get from this work. And so share the wealth, share the wealth, share the wealth. Others want to be helpful as well. And we deserve help too. The helpers deserve help too. That's a belief thing that we may have to change and accept as we go, especially as we age, or if we are encountering illness or difficulty and challenge. So persistence. I think we've already gotten some examples, but is there any other examples about successfully overcome challenges about persistence that we might want to talk about, or current challenges? And then here's something. Let's ask, what kind of things would you say to a child who might need a help with being more persistent? Let's bring it back to your audience here, the people you serve most, the reason why you're volunteering for this.
I'd say you can do it.
You can do it. Having somebody behind you to be a cheerleader or to encourage or give examples is really good. I remember for myself when I was in cross country, I was always the person who came in last. It was a bummer. I cried a lot, but I got a varsity letter just out of persistence. And what helped me is when there would be certain people who would stay at the end of the race and they didn't all just go home. They stayed there to say, keep on going, keep on going. And so I would sob my way across the finish line. But those people who said, you can do it, and were there and waited till I came in the race after everybody else had come in. Oh, I'll never forget them. I wrote a college entrance essay about the benefits and the things that I learned from coming in last at every single race, except for one time I came in third from last. It was the best day ever. It was so fun. But the people who gave me that cheerleading at the finish line were enormously helpful, and I'll never forget them. So simply just encouraging for somebody, and they have to do it. They couldn't do the race for me. You can't do this task for the kid, but you can encourage them. And so just even saying, good job all the way, and doing that can be enormously helpful. I love that. Any other examples anybody can bring up about persistence?
I have another one. I was as a young girl, quote unquote, painfully shy, and I was nominated to be homecoming queen in my junior high.
Oh.
And we had to do a speech, and people laughed at me. I couldn't get through the beginning of it. every word that I said. I guess I sound like Minnie Mouse. I don't know why they were laughing. The whole auditorium just laughed at me. So I had this little, I found this quote, it is better to be silent than to open up your mouth and prove that you were right. I forget how it went, but
Remove all doubt.
yeah, remove
Better
all
to be
doubt.
silent and thought a
Exactly.
fool than to open your mouth and prove it, I think is the one I was taught.
Exactly. That's the one that I had a little. I typed it out on an index card, and I just carried it around with me because I thought that was my credo. But then I went to high school and I joined the glee club, the drama club. I was a cheerleader. I was in the band because when I was a young girl, we had to take piano lessons and do auditions at Carnegie Hall, quote unquote. And it just stressed me out. And my dad would say, "Oh, I need to get up there and do, play a song." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I went in the recitals, I would play, and then, oh, wait, and I have to start all over again because I would get so stressed out." At my church, they asked, I joined the community choir when I got here. Because I did, like I said, I was cheerleader, I was in the sports club, basketball and volleyball, and I did all these physical things, and I was in the drama club. I had the leading role in the play. I sang in West Side Story. I mean, I did all these things, and people would say like, "Oh man, you were off key," or whatever, and then I'd go back into my, better be quiet, whatever. But as I grew older, and I started participating in community activities. I was the Adults Center activities director, and I'm singing as I'm working, whatever, and people say, "Oh, wow, you have a nice voice," and nobody ever told me that, so I didn't believe it. But then they asked me to sing in karaoke, and people would turn around, "Who's that singing?" And I just surprised myself. And so now I like to do anything that's musical. So I sing in my, I sing in the choir, whatever. But they asked me to do special music by myself. And now I say, oh, I put my foot in it. I can't like back out of this because I don't want whatever this supposedly gift is that I have. I don't want it to be taken away. So I got up there a couple of times. I thought I couldn't breathe. I had to take deep breaths and get myself back on there. I will forget the words and regroup, and like Vicky said, I I talked with my sister. She also performs. She plays the flute, and she goes on YouTube, and she's so afraid that the whole world would see her making a mistake. But like Vicky said, nobody cares.
Nobody really does.
They may not even tune in to you, and if they do, whatever, they'll forget about it. It's not like they're gonna be posting your disaster, for here until ever. And so now I am persistently pursuing maintaining, this supposedly gift that I have, so that it won't be taken away. And I do special music. I have the song group, I'm sticking with that. They may not show up, but I'm up there by myself.
Oh, I love it.
It's just a part of I own it now. I'm not gonna let my fear, my anxiety beat me down, and because I enjoy music so much, and so I'm not gonna give it up.
I'm going to write that down just because that is a perfect example of this. I mean, this is really your example. Kind of really applies all of our skills that we're talking about as they do, right? These are not really discrete. If you're using that, oh hi, I see somebody. Irma, say hi to the person who came to visit. That was nice. Oh my gosh, I love that story, and I love the message in that, and I invite you to own your awesomeness. Clearly, your gift is called for, and you love it, and so do it, do it, do it right. And this is, and but your experience being shy and having those difficulties, but what kind of empathy you bring to young people, right? You can tell them this story, you can tell them of your difficulties, and maybe now you seem so professional and you're singing, and it just may have come across like this would never have bothered you, but it's confessing to a young person who may find a challenge like that, to say, oh, it hasn't, I don't, it may not, behind my face I'm a little scared, that may give them the inspiration to do it anyway. Do what you love, mess up, stumble towards grace, because again, the more we do it, the better it is, and the more joy we can get from it, the more we're going to want to do it, and the more we're going to get invited to do it, right? So ideally, persistence is just a skill that just keeps paying forward. And again, with young people, I don't know, the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, kids today, and I worry about them. And I think persistence is one of the things that we as older people and the trusted adults and for young people is to really help them get that persistence, to model it, to sympathize with them when they're struggling, but then encourage them to carry on and just really enjoy, and especially if it's things they love and things they believe in. I think that's really important. I love that. I love that. I love my job so much. How cool that I get to talk to y'all and hear these wonderful examples. This is beautiful. So now we're going to go into skill 4. This is trust. And this is all the social relationships. So social supports, research says, are the best protections from stress and suicide. So how do we do this? We develop our social supports by identifying the challenges we're facing, identifying the people who have the skills to help you with the challenge, whether that's your doctor, your physical therapist, the neighbor down the street who's a really good cook, and you want to learn how to make some kind of cool dish, or if you're having a potluck and you need help for people to, so you're serving them. Trust is the foundation of all relationships. And it really, the ideal human relationships are reciprocal. We reach out when we need help, and we accept help. We also offer support. And for children too, we might reach out to the children for help. What can the children do to help us? They can give us good advice. They can give us good, examples about what to do. We can, not burdening them by any means, but kids know stuff. You all know that. They know stuff. Right. So consulting a kid and evoking their wisdom is a beautiful thing. If we trust them with our, again, age appropriate challenges, and invite them to be helpful and help us find solutions to brainstorm things, what a gift for a child to be counted on that way. Again, we could go on and on about what's age appropriate or not. I trust I bet you can all give examples of this. To rely on the children to help us too. Maybe it's helping us carry something to the car. Maybe it's helping us move chairs. Maybe it's what would you do if you were in this situation? Again, age appropriate, be kind, not burdensome, but inviting, right? This is something we can do from childhood up throughout our lives. All the people we can rely on, and asking for and accepting help is really part of that. Again, especially for the helpers, we're the ones who are there in the emergencies. We're the ones who come and do the sick care and do the kin keeping. We too deserve that kind of care, respect, honoring, and love. We too deserve that. So an example here that they provide, worried about a coworker who was in a bad traffic crash. She seems withdrawn at work. What might you do in this case? Again, speak up out if you like, or put it in the chat. One thing you might do is check in with her, let's assume that you both are familiar with the SUD scale. And you say, oh, what is your subjective units of distress after that? And then, maybe that's the start of the conversation. And then you find out it's not so great. She's having a hard time. Maybe you can offer to take a load off for her until she gets better. Maybe you can give her the name of your excellent physical therapist if she's had a physical emergency injury. Maybe you can encourage her to go to employee assistance program to get to talk through. Maybe she had a traumatic experience and she's really suffering from the results of that. Maybe she's really worried about how she can replace her car. So maybe you can provide emotional support. You can provide support at work. You can give references to good good people. Oh, I know that when I got my car, I went to this dealer. This guy treated me really right. Or don't go to that guy. Or maybe just help her find some solutions to some of the challenges she's going through. If it's a trauma response and you're not a therapist, referring her to somebody who she may be able to talk to. It may be beyond just what a friendly and a supportive conversation can be. Maybe she needs a little some therapeutic intervention in order to kind of ameliorate the trauma that she's been through. Maybe she just needs some time. Maybe she just needs to tell her story. Maybe she needs to be left alone. We don't know, right? Just inquiring and letting her know you care could be something you can do for this. And if there's any other ideas, please do feel free to share those in the chat.
I have something.
Okay. Yes. Welcome.
Rape victim was referred to me yesterday, and apparently the defendant or the suspect has been arrested, currently in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who gave me the information, I sympathize with her, but I'm waiting on the rape victim to call me because and if I'll speak with the person who gave me the information. If I can get the rape victim's phone number, I'll call her, but I'm waiting on the woman to call me because I don't want to intrude on her privacy.
Right.
So I gave her permission to give my number to her so I can help her. Another young lady recently lost her job and she has been emotionally traumatized. And I gave her the information that was presented to us yesterday, the organization called ICS, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Interfaith Council.
Yeah.
And so I gave her that information. She told me that they told her to call back on Monday. And so I'll check in with this young lady. And there was another one, I can't think of it right now, but a lot of people need help and they need somebody with a positive attitude to help them and to volunteer their personal time to help them. And they need to know that somebody cares, not with just lip service, but with action.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that, Ben. Thank you so much. And I love your voice. You have a beautiful voice. So I can imagine that talking to you on the phone is going to be a comfort.
Thank you much. I'll have to tell my daughters that they'll like that.
Yeah, yeah. You just sound like somebody I would have trust with this. And I love that you're considering that you're not intruding, that you're available when she's ready, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're demonstrating some of the sub skills of the trust, empathy, putting yourself in somebody's shoes, seeing it from their point of view, recognizing that empathy is the foundation of trust is really important. And the older we get, the better we get at it because we've been through some hard stuff ourselves, right? So that's something we can bring to these interactions with people. Resilient people understand they can't do it alone. So again, the helpers are the worst at this. The medical professionals, the nurses, the social workers, the community health workers, sometimes we're the worst at asking for help. We're there at a moment's notice to help others, and we're not so great about accepting or asking for help. So that's something we can practice. And remember, if that makes you feel awkward and weird, remember, give yourself grace. It comes with time. And remember, you're giving somebody else an opportunity to be of service, just like you have been innumerable times in your life. You have permission to accept help and give somebody that gift as well. The social support system is a source of strength and opportunity. This helps us develop and acknowledge our strengths, right? Like Anita, your story about, finally after some of the young times when people didn't tell you how beautiful your voice was, finally now you're hearing it, right? And you love it. And so you're putting that out and you're sharing that gift. finally you're getting some positive reinforcement. That's how it is. And thank you for being persistent and putting your gift and your love for music out. That's a beautiful thing. And you're getting joy out of it too. When you talk about it, you can see in your face, you're smiling. It's a beautiful thing, right? So acknowledging our strengths, and sometimes other people are better at pointing out our strengths and helping us own our awesomeness than we are. And there's a lot of reasons why that is, right? If we've come from a strict upbringing where we were not, we were maybe we are only our best successes were acknowledged, but maybe we don't even know how much our dad bragged about us and we didn't get to hear about it. I hear that now about my mom. She's much more effusive about bragging about me now in front of me, but when I was a kid, I always felt like I could never please her. But then, some other adults in my life would say, your mom is so proud of you. And I'd say, what? And they'd say, oh, she told us about this thing you did. And I'd be like, oh, she noticed. Oh, okay, right. But, now we communicate, and now she brags about me in front of me, and then I brag about her, but so we learn, right? But so we can depend on each other to celebrate all of our strengths and gifts and help each other recover from challenges. And this trust, we may have small degrees of trust. We may have huge degrees of trust. We may have to learn. Some people may have to earn our trust. When they betray our trust, we may have to think about whether we're going to give them another chance or if we're going to, set some boundaries, right? This is a complicated thing. With young people, particularly, they're learning the hard way about who to trust and how to trust, and we can guide them in that regard as well. We can teach them to listen to their spidey senses and their gut feelings about people. We can talk about stranger danger. We can talk about appropriate ways to share. We can caution them about the dangers of strangers online. There's a lot of information and protective factors and information we can provide for children to teach them appropriate and safe ways to trust each other, right? That is one of your roles as adults in these young people's lives, and maybe their families too, is to figure out safe boundaries regarding this. And so that's a nuanced skill we bring to trust. Boundaries may be the flip side of the trust, right? So that's something we need to consider. So any challenges or examples or remarks about the skill of trust? I think one example might be that we started our conversation with the boundary around, the reminder that this is being recorded and that we want to protect personal and private information, right? So we set a boundary. So we set a boundary, a little fence around the kind of trust we can bring that would be a little different than if we were in the same room, right? So that's an example of we're trusting and we're bringing up these skills and we're talking about them. But in this particular technology based context, we're not going to bring as much trust and openness and vulnerability as we would if we were in person, where we could close the door, be together, and know that we could have an agreement, right? And then what Pam says, trust is earned, and if it's broken, it has to be earned again, right? And so that's a hard thing. And some kids, I was very gullible. I still am, right? So I really rely on my friends and my parents to help me identify some of the people in my life who maybe I don't need to trust as much, right? I've learned the hard way that it's, sometimes the friends I've had in the past, if they're not really friends, if we're not really having reciprocity and it's too one way, I'm treating all the time, or, that maybe that's somebody I back off from. Maybe I spend time with them once a year instead. And the people that are really good and we're really into and dedicate time to each other, we save time for the ones that really matter, right? Another thing that's real important to be aware of is isolation. Isolation is a huge risk factor for all kinds of mental health and substance use and misuse challenges. So the fact that you're involved in this community is a protective factor for you as an individual, while you are a protective factor for each other and for the children you serve, right? So I love volunteer opportunities when we're done with our work, our professional work, to keep bringing what we've learned and our wisdom to service like you all do. Oh, thank you for that. I mean, we couldn't pay the people enough to do the kind of services that you are offering. We in our culture, and I think just humans in general, rely on the volunteers who do so much behind the scenes. And the reason why we do this, and we'll come back to our purpose in a moment, we have a purpose to be of service, but we ideally get so much from that ourselves, including fending off social isolation, to have people in our community that we can reach out to for help and to get advice and to get to just even have somebody to share. If you have a difficult encounter with a kid, you got a guy, right? You know who to go to. I'm imagining that you have, maybe a supervisory chain, or you maybe have protocols to do that, but you have people you can consult, so you're not in this alone. And that is a beautiful thing. The social connections we have through our volunteer communities of faith, through our jobs, through our friendships, through our neighbors, through all the places we can connect. These are worth cultivating. And if we identify somebody who's socially isolated, or we ourselves are finding ourselves socially isolated, it really behooves us to find connection. Connection is really a good medicine for particularly for mental health. Finally, we're wrapping up our time together, and this has been so beautiful to me. I'm so glad to be here with you right now. The adaptability sort of wraps up all of those skills, and as we've talked about in all our examples that you've all brought up, this is another one where those who believe in adaptability and flexibility they will be persistent in their beliefs and their strength and nutrition and their rest and their connections will allow them to pursue really rich challenges rather than avoiding them. Adaptability gives us confidence. Melody knows she's going to get that goal done. She's going to do it. I have absolute faith that Melody's going to get to Boulder. I know that about you. 100%. You're going to be using all the skills and connections you have in your life to make that happen. You're going to accept help. Yeah.
I am, because you know why? I went yesterday for the first time and walked in Walmart. Oh my God, I didn't get on one of the scooters. I kind of like sore, but I managed, and I walked in and I walked out and I drove my car. And I didn't care. I was going to drive, and I'm very persistent. I don't give
and
up.
just little by little, you're doing that. You're building up to it. So you're just the stories you're giving us are models of all these skills. Like, this is why I say I'm not teaching you anything new. I'm just reminding you that you can be models for your people. You can give yourself permission to use these skills, and you can really, you can share what you already know about them. Goal setting. Using planning, cooperation, persistence, checking in and giving yourself credit and celebrating every step along the way. The example they give here is going back to school for your master's degree while still working full time. And I go through a lot of audiences where some people I inevitably have somebody who's like, that's me. So what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's going to go to graduate school while working full time? Again, speak out on the camera or put it in the chat.
Don't do it. Oh my God. Sorry, I have ADHD and I could not have managed, so I took out student loans to do it. But yeah. Someone else share real suggestion.
Well, that is a real suggestion, Beth. I mean, if you're familiar with your your limitations, but you're really driven and you know that, but I bet you were successful. You said you're a therapist, so I bet you succeeded.
Oh yeah. I zip through my coursework.
Yeah. See, there you go. So maybe that is a suggestion you might make to somebody. You say, it's okay. Life is long, ideally. And if you take this time out and take the loans and really, really get the most out of it, that could be some advice you give. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's real advice. Yeah. What else?
I did it too when I was forced to be a single parent. My daughter's father refused to participate in our lives. And so I had to raise her on my own. I had a job, and I took a job, and I was working as a secretary. I was asking the accountant these questions. He said, you need to take a course. So I said, okay. So I took a course in accounting, and I got an A, and it encouraged me to move on. And so I'm studying, my daughter's studying, she's in junior high, I'm in college, and we both graduated. I graduated from community college when she graduated from junior high. When I went on to do my bachelor's, and she's in high school and I'm doing my thing. And so we both did it together, so to speak. I'm doing my homework, she's doing her homework. So it worked out, but it was tough. I had to do a lot of sacrificing. So the payoff now, my daughter is a librarian, traveling all over the world and everything.
Oh,
And her main thing is arts and she got an Emmy actually for her research in
oh,
photo research, and she is very passionate about that. The other day she called and told me that, you know, her dad is now, you know, struggling, and she's not so
oh.
much, you know, with it. She tries to help, but you know, since he like dropped us like a hot potato, she doesn't really know this person. So,
Yeah.
but she said if there's anything that I need, you know, she'll hop on a plane, she'll be there for me, you know, kind of thing. So, I mean, it surprised me because she kind of pulled back away from me, I guess, because maybe I was a helicopter mom. But now she's realizing, you know, as successful as she is, you know, she's willing to be there for me. And I I'm kind of hard, it's kind of hard to accept, but um hopefully I won't need her to hop on a plane and get over here,
Well,
you
but
know,
isn't
but
that
just
nice
to
that
know,
and
yeah,
she probably knows you've been there for her too, right? So,
oh yeah, 100%. I was it. That was my life. She went and got married, eloped, didn't invite me, and that broke
oh,
my heart. I said, "Oh no, I get girl, you don't know. I've been waiting to walk you down the aisle, and then you
oh.
just, you know, didn't allow me that opportunity. But I'm getting over that, you know.
Yeah.
But
Maybe she didn't want to be a bother, and like weddings are so expensive. So maybe you can do something similar in the past. They can renew their vows, and you be the proud mama. I don't know. Maybe that's
she
a
she just felt like our family was too big, and if she invited me, that I would have the rest of the family to come. And I said,
yeah,
if you told me just bring, you know, just me, I would honor that. But you know, I guess she's getting it now. She's
yeah.
understanding as adults, you know, that we uh, can make good choices.
Yeah, we love, some of us really love those ceremonial things. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad you're getting over it. You're changing your beliefs about it, right? Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Oh, we're wrapping up our time together. I love this. This has been, I feel like the examples y'all have brought up have been just ideal. They've just been perfect for this, So just tech challenges notwithstanding, I'm so pleased that I was with you today. Just as a summary of these beliefs, belief controls your actions and attitude. Strength, it includes proper nutrition, exercise, sleep, and relaxation. Again, a new thing for me, but so honor that time to relax and play. Persistence, facing a challenge with the belief you'll succeed. Trust, the basis of all relationships, founded on empathy. Oftentimes requires good boundaries. That's something we learn with age and help from our social circle to help establish those. Adaptability is flexibility to meet the challenge, and they're all intertwined, right? It's hard to do one of these skills without the others. So now we'll conclude, and this is another way to kind of sing that song about the adversity or challenge and the belief and the consequence. So let me read this to you. And I'm a librarian. I tried to find a source for this, and what I determined is that it's the wisdom of the people is the source for this story. You may have seen it before. One evening, an old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. He said, "My son, the battle is between two wolves inside us all. One is evil. It is anger, envy, jealousy, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, truth, compassion, and faith." The grandson thought about it for a moment and he said, "Which wolf wins?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." So that's
Mm.
another metaphor for that adversity, belief, and consequence. The consequence of good beliefs and going through the grief, appropriately, and then choosing the good side is that we feed the wolf within us that is good, and that builds the wolf's strength. That helps us be better and live our best life if we choose that. We may fall into the part of the difficult emotions sometimes. We may have to go through some grief, but we'll change we'll pivot. We'll use our resilience to pivot to that. So we can make choices that help us win the battles we feed. we face by feeding the resilience as opposed to the misery. And then we, especially in your role as AmeriCorps volunteers, you are models, you are protective factors for everybody in your life, particularly those children that you serve, and for each other in community and volunteering. And so, again, I'm not teaching you anything you don't know. This is the reality of it. You know this already. I give you permission to take good care of yourselves. Be a helper who can also accept help. Behavioral health is no different than physical health. Oftentimes, mental health challenges are treatable, diagnosable, and curable. There's nothing wrong with somebody's character, or nobody's weak if they face mental health challenges. We can't always change the events in our lives, but with healthy support and using these 5 skills, the resiliency song, we can navigate to a place of resilience and post-traumatic growth. And this doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, focus, and time, and ongoing conversations about this. And I'm going to be sending you these links so that, that they can be shared with you later. We're going to give you, so Vicki and the team can give you these. So, but One Tree Learning is the facilitator or creator of this. And so these are these are where you can find, again, we're going to provide these for you. And again, as I opened up with, this is a conversation. I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat as well, but I invite you to continue the conversation with me. And right now it is 11, and so I'm going to turn you back over to your day. Vicki, if you have any closing remarks, now's your chance. Thank you all so much.